Nigeria. The United States has imposed new sanctions on individuals who are connected with Nigeria's armed group Boko Haram. The Treasury Department announced 6 Nigerian nationals who were found guilty of setting up a Boko Haram cell in the United Arab Emirates to raise funds for fighters in Nigeria have been placed on sanctioned lists. This action, the United States joins the UAE in targeting terrorist financing networks of mutual concern. Look at the stringent sanctions that has been placed, by these, 6 Nigerian nationals vis-a-vis the kind of treatment given to Boko Haram members or fighters in Nigeria, especially when they are being arrested. Nigeria became a joke of itself when we saw presidential pardon be given to so-called repentant Boko Haram members. Yes. And of course, we saw them taking even further steps by even taking some of them on what we call rehabilitation and of course scholarship. They were given scholarship programs. These reintegrated into the society. Where in a part of the world is such being practiced? If the US could, hit hard on financiers of, terrorism in Nigeria, are you saying that the US would at any time arrest any Boko Haram suspect and then give presidential pardon to such persons? Where is that being practiced?
The United States of America, under the government of Donald Trump, has just given 6 Nigerians stringent sanctions for sponsoring and financing Boko Haram. Now, they released the names of these individuals to the Nigerian authority. Guess what? The Nigerian authority hid it from the public. But can I shock you? You are about to hear their names in this video. I will unveil them. Do you understand? You will hear their name in this video. For your own good. As you start watching this video, just start sharing. Now, by the way, I want to play back the tape. Remember, in a video I did recently, I exonerated Tinubu. I say as much as I believe I don't like him, he's a drug baron, right? I say he doesn't have hands in Boko Haram. Okay. But I've come to have a rethink based on some facts I want to show you. Fact number 1. Why did this government hid these names of these individuals, 6 individuals, from the public? Number 1. Number 2, from the news, some of you may have seen, federal government, not this, 789 ex-terrorists undergoing deradicalization, rehabilitation, reintegration program. CDS, Chief of Defense Staff. The same Chief of Defense Staff that was carried foul in the video I showed recently. These people they are sponsoring. We don't have they have hands. We don't know the list. Those are that they will. You watch the video that I posted recently now, and I will felt pity for him. Same you, under your watch, you are giving 689 ex-Boko Haram fighters undergoing deradicalization, rehabilitation, reintegration program, Chief of Defense Staff. So this shows me, it proved to me, the last election was rigged. Buhari have he had a D. Because I thought this terrorism of the team was only Buhari. But now taking place under this, what's it called? Under Tinubu. No, it is shocking. So it's making me to have a rethink. And the names of the people who are sponsoring Boko Haram that US release, not be released, and you go hear them. It will blow your mind. Are you guys understanding me? So if Buhari the Boko Haram we know. Why will Tinubu this will be going on under your watch? The same Chief of Defense that was carried out that day. You understand? Accusing foreign organization. You understand now? That under your watch, which country on earth, Papa Boko Haram, Papa terrorist? Okay, let me play back the tape. Look at a statement that Aero 5 made some time ago. He said, federal government not against bandits because they are doing business. Bandits, terrorists, they are doing business. no secession like Nabikado Erofai. You see why some of us, that guy, what they call after 7, you see 8. We get that number 8. We get that for Erofai, me in particular. Boko Haram that ravaged with what they have caused. So if Tinubu if Buhari we pamper Boko Haram with his law, why Tinubu? Why? So it means all of them they're involved in this business. Guys, I don't want to say much. I want to stop here. This video you are about to watch is super interesting. So as you are watching it, just be liking it and be sharing it. Thank you.
Nigeria. Of course, you would agree with me that insecurity is one of the top issues that is being looked into by any responsible and, of course, responsive government if such nation is to move forward. And, of course, that brings us to the issue of 6 foreign Nigerians who are residing currently in the United Arab Emirates. And of course, it will interest you that heavy sanctions have been placed on them by the United States through its agency for being involved in terror financing, particularly Boko Haram in Nigeria. The United States has imposed new sanctions on individuals who are connected with Nigeria's armed group Boko Haram. The Treasury Department announced 6 Nigerian nationals who were found guilty of setting up a Boko Haram cell in the United Arab Emirates to raise funds for fighters in Nigeria have been placed on sanctioned lists. This action, the United States joins the UAE in targeting terrorist financing networks of mutual concern. Under Secretary of the Treasury, Brian Nelson, said on Friday, Treasury continues to target financial facilitators of terrorist activities worldwide. We welcome multilateral actions on these Boko Haram networks to ensure that it is not able to move any funds through international financial system, he added. And of course, joining us to make sense, to this discussion, I'm being joined by my guest in the person of Mr. Ibe. Good morning, Mr. Ibe, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. All right.
So you listened to my monologue, and of course you realize that for close to about a decade right about now, Nigeria has been faced with terrorism, particularly with a very dangerous terror group known as Boko Haram. You would also understand the fact that this terror group has largely made the northeastern region completely economically desolate as a result of its nefarious acts. Now, what comes to your mind having seen that this terror group, especially those who are behind the financing of these activities, have not only been convicted, they've also been identified. Their faces has been unmasked, and of course their names have been published. What comes to your mind when you hear such?
Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure being here. When it comes to security issues, most times the voices are low in speaking up, and more so in Nigeria, where fear will always come to anybody whose minds is bent down for what he wants to do or speak up against the activities of the terror groups. Does it not worry you that the whole of this is being done outside the shores of this country, where individuals outside this country will identify those who are involved, directly or indirectly involved in these shenanigans? And it worries me too that in the past few days, weeks, when their names had been mentioned, like you read, is no longer a huge talk. It's no longer hidden. Their name has been mentioned. Individuals have been pointed, and till now we've not had any word from the government. Government are not spoken, releasing a communique or releasing a press release on this very issue, because it's at the front burner. and the issues at the front burner should be tackled the way they come. Okay, and thank God for the courage of the government in the US, who eventually tells you that, look, in your country, we have few names, individuals who cause chaos in this environment, and at a point in time, I think the government wanted to take up an action against few individuals not printed then. Their names were not known. We were not told, these facilitators, their names were not mentioned anywhere. But now the name had been come up. The name had been mentioned. Individuals have been identified. Because when it comes to linking these individuals to this terrorist group, they are not the only people. They are not. We have other sub-individuals who play a huge role to carrying out this nefarious act. I think government should sit up, come up with this courage to go after the people, because there's a lead already. There's a lead, and this lead should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet. But we are not new to all this.
Okay, now in your statement you said it's very worrisome, considering the fact that up until this time we've never heard any statement, any press statement from any quarters of government, in support of this giant stride by the United States. And, for better want of word, it's such an embarrassment and a shame for Nigeria not to have made any statement. Now, look at the fact that, these individuals have been unmasked. And of course, the stringent sanctions that have been placed on them, some have been given life imprisonment, and of course, some have been given a jail term of 10 years. Yes, and of course, after that jail term, they will be deported back to their country of origin. I asked you the question earlier from a sour taste of my mouth, because I understand that the approach, especially in the war of terrorism, has never been very appreciated by the Nigerian government. It became a joke, a national joke of its own, when we started seeing the nation giving pardon to repentant Boko Haram. What's your take on that?
It's a shame if anybody comes outside your home and tell you the rat that has been boring holes everywhere in your house has been identified. I think the right thing, anybody who actually want to put a hold to issues giving rise in his house should work hard to stamp it out or stamp it out. Okay, and the era of naming and shaming has presented itself. If the government before now couldn't do anything because they are playing under the guise that these guys had to be identified also, I think now the name had been called up, like I earlier mentioned. Why not work on it? Why not rise to the occasion? Why not begins to work on it diligently? Well, sometimes we've been told that security issues are not discussed in the open by the security agencies. But from the leeway we've got from both United Arab Emirates and the USA, it is enough evidence to begin to get the people who are rightly, directly, or indirectly connected to these people, because they don't act in isolation. They don't. Now they have their connections.
Yes, we understand.
And let government begins to use this opportunity, begin to have on this opportunity to actually stamp them out, to actually begin to know who are connected. These are individuals. They are somewhere. They are in United Arab Emirates, currently serving a jail term. Some have been sentenced to life imprisonment. Can we meet them? Because they definitely will speak up. To me, it is a best time and the wonderful time that has never presented itself that we are in now.
All right. All right, now we'll be transiting yet to another area of the conversation, which will be coming shortly after this time out. Please don't go nowhere. All right, welcome back. And of course, it's still your current affairs program, TMI. And we have been looking at the issue of insecurity bedeviling the country, Nigeria. And of course, that brings us to the stringent sanctions that have been placed on Nigerian nationals residing in the UAE, especially by the United States of America, for being involved in terror financing in Nigeria, particularly Boko Haram. And my guest here, the president of Zik Ibe, has been giving us some level of perspective when it comes to the body language of Nigerian government, saying the fact that its citizens have not only been indicted, convicted, and of course identified as being part and parcel of this dangerous terror group. Now, my next question to you would be, what do you think could have been the reason why it took Nigeria this long to be able to get, to a level where we will be unmasking, not just mentioning of, terror crimes that have been committed in various parts of the country, but having to identify who they are, particularly, and of course, their financiers?
I think that's a food dragging or lackadaisical, well, I call it lackadaisical attitude. Most times when you raise issues of this nature, the government, the security personnel or the security agency will tell you that securities are not discussed in the open, and telling you that they have their way of tackling high-powered security issues like this. We believe them. Nobody is doubting they are not doing their work. They do, okay? But being overwhelmed is where the curiosity comes from. Because at this part, naming and shaming anyone who is involved in this act is very important, because that's the only way you can put a stoppage or nip it in the bud. And another error in the country that has actually fueled insecurity in Nigeria is we never punished offenders. Offenders are not being punished. That's my word. Because if anything happens and someone is used as a scapegoat, or someone is being taught a lesson, or someone is being dealt with arising from what he did, others will learn from it. But if you look at decades of insecurity we've had in the country, it is obvious that many individuals who are involved in this are not being shown exit doors, are not being punished. Because punishment remains the only solution to putting a stop to evils.
That brings to mind the issue about a certain statement made by a former top general who once said that if terrorism festers for more than 24 hours,
the government is involved.
The government is involved. So does it speak to the fact that while these persons have not been mentioned or even identified, and of course shamed, could be as a result of the fact that some certain top government officials are involved in this? Could that be said of it?
Not there. We are not security agencies or individuals, but being security conscious, you should know what could end a security issue in your environment. We are talking about top security links here, Boko Haram, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda. But how did they start? It is by little, just like Niger Delta restiveness started, just like IPOB started. Do you understand? And this is how they give rise to so many of this. Because they were not earlier checkmated. They were not earlier quelled. If by any reason anything starts for that nation and they are nipped in the bud, you've killed it. That is how to uproot it. But if lip services are given to it, looking other ways when they are happening, before you know it, they fester. Before you know it, they grow to monsters. Before you know it, they grow more than they could be curtailed. And that is why we find ourselves here. This brings me to the earlier thought that if security if we found ourselves in areas of unquietness, and we did not pay attention to it, how did we go to where we are? It was during the Jonathan period, led by Yusuf. Okay, Yusuf was held in the detention. Before you know it, he was killed, and that's how the whole thing went gaga.
Now let's look at the stringent sanctions that has been placed, by these, 6 Nigerian nationals residing in UAE, vis-a-vis the kind of treatment given to Boko Haram members or fighters in Nigeria, especially when they are being arrested. Nigeria became a joke of itself when we saw presidential pardon be given to so-called repentant Boko Haram members.
Yes.
And of course, we saw them taking even further step by even taking some of them on what we call rehabilitation, and of course scholarship. They were given scholarship programs.
And reintegrated into the society.
And reintegrated into the society. Where in the part of the world is such being practiced? If the US could, hit hard on financiers of, terrorism in Nigeria, are you saying that the US would at any time arrest any Boko Haram suspect and then give presidential pardon to such persons? Where is that being practiced?
In every part of the world, insecurity is I wouldn't say it's normal, no. But no country in the world don't experience insecurity. No country in the world. All the countries in the world have, one way or the other, been involved in tackling their own internal insecurity. Ours is not in exclusion. But the issue remains that the moment you notice disquiet in an environment, any responsible government should rise to that occasion. Should nip it in the bud. How do you nip it in the bud? You must identify the individuals and show them the exit doors. By whichever way you want to show them exit doors, that's not what I'm talking here. But I must say that they must be punished adequately, so that it will serve as a lesson or deterrent to others who is still having notion of that same act. That is where our issue stems from. We don't punish offenders. We pay lip services to those who cause troubles among us. We pamper and window dress issues that need urgent national attention. So, in as much as all these are not being brought forward on those who perpetrate acts that are causing disquiet to people in their environment, they must fester. Okay? And that is what had brought us to this place. Now, in so many terror groups we have in the country, we are going too far. Boko Haram has gone far. Is becoming a situation where nobody curtails again. But it is not uncurtail. You can curtail it, doing the right thing. Okay? And the moment you do all this, it is all about teaching those who have the same notion a lesson that you shouldn't go there.
Okay, now for the sake of emphasis, now let's look at the names that have been mentioned vis-a-vis the amounts that are being used in financing terrorism in Nigeria here.
And now, insecurity is becoming a big business.
Yes. So talking about
a big business, an enterprise. So many individuals.
So we're going to look at the economic aspect of it when you talk about big business to persons who are behind it. Now I'm going to mention the names of these 6 Nigerians for emphasis sake. We have persons like Abdulrahman Ado Musa. We have Salisu Yusuf Adamu. We have Bashir Ali Yusuf. We have Muhammad Ibrahim Isa, Ibrahim Ali Al Hassan, and Surajo Abubakar Muhammad. These are the 6 persons.
These are Nigerians.
Are Nigerians residing in UAE who are financing terrorism in Nigeria. Now, look at the amount that they were convicted of. They have a stunning amount to the tune of $782,000 that were about to be sent to Nigeria in financing terrorism. Now, that brings me to the issue of those who are behind this for the sake of business. Now, let's look at the financial institution. This money couldn't have just flown in the air.
No.
It came through a system.
Yeah.
Now, so do you think that the banks are also complicit in this act?
Unfortunately, very unfortunately, we don't have such a strong data that could track illicit funds. We don't have it. Very unfortunate. US have been able to establish this. UAE has been able to establish this. But unfortunately, the country where the money is heading doesn't have such a data, doesn't have such a technological advancement to track such illicit fund.
Could it be that we do not have the wherewithal, or it was a deliberate attempt, perhaps political will isn't there?
We have the wherewithal. We have what we lack is the political will to actually set up a technology, set up that manpower, set up individual who could monitor. It's a diaspora remittance now.
Yes.
Okay, it's diaspora remittance. And what that means is that any money that comes in, that goes out of the country, in hard currencies, should be tracked. But in our own climate and in our own environment, such monies might not see the light of the day. They might not see it. And the individuals are there who equally could track it just like other countries are tracking it. But we don't have that political will. We don't have that technological power or advancement to actually rise to it. So it's a problem. And it looks like we have a system who just is weak towards curbing all this. Because if such amount of 782,000 US dollars finding its way into the country to encourage these bad boys in what they do, and you could not tell us that, well, it could even be captured sometime as diaspora remittance, but not being specific. Because in so many countries of the world where technology is being used to do so many things, such money has a link and what is being used for. So amount of money coming into the country in huge amount should have a target, should have a tag. Why it's coming into the country, for what? What project? What for? But it's not being monitored by anyone. So it comes in and it filters into people, into individuals, and that's the end of it. It could even go into the manufacturers of rifles, and that's the end of it. So your country, my country, is weak in this track.
Now, talking about the porosity of our system, especially when it comes to curbing most of these leakages where money comes in from, like the financial system I just mentioned, there is no specific nature as to monies that are being sent as diaspora remittances that you just mentioned. Now, let's look at other aspects of this sanction. We're talking about a state where, aside from the fact that the money in question here has been confiscated, these individuals have been jailed for various jail terms. We're also looking at properties that came from proceeds of this crime. Now we are being told that these properties, either belonging to individuals, directly or by proxies, have been blocked and reported to the agency saddled with that responsibility in the name of OFAC. Now, what do you speak of Nigeria as a country, looking at our anti-graft agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of going after, financial crimes, simply put?
Such jobs need a very holistic approach to so many of these things. You and I recently I watched with a story of an estate belonging to someone who eventually said, no, I'm not the owner, and the government confiscated it. Until today, nobody knew who owns the property. Those are funny situations we have in the country. You and I, in the past, heard of a particular private jet that carried some money from Nigeria here and landed in South Africa. Until tomorrow, those dollars in the private jets and the owners of the private jets were not known till tomorrow. So this is how porous our country is. Certain things that happen are not linked to anyone. But even though the government might know those who are directly or indirectly linked to this, but the deficit of information coming to the public in the knowledge of how all this happens becomes an error that we have battled with over the years. When also a property, an estate that housed over 800 and something units of house was linked to someone, and the person, no, I'm not the person, I'm not the owner, and the government could not tell us till tomorrow who owns that property. How did it come to light? So these are funny things we've experienced in the country. But then, in the words of the Olukoyede, the EFC's chairman, he said so many of these fights are not brought to the public because of their security implications, and we believe him. But we've urged him. We in the public space have always urged him to bring the names, shame them, because it is only doing so that the work is being seen as being done. Because otherwise, when you speak in rhetorics, when you speak in parables, without linking them to so many of these infractions, to us who are laymen, who are very deficient in information that has been dished out to the public, we feel you are window dressing. We feel enough strength or enough effort is not being put into what you do. Because we believe it is only then, when individuals are mentioned, when things are being done in the open, that we could see you as being serious.
All right, now so let's talk.
But not really waving away the job they do. They do marvelous job because we have a system that encourage individuals who are in nefarious activities to continue.
All right, so let's look at collaborative measures that could be put in place by Nigerian and, of course, some of her, bilateral relations that she has. Now, what do you think can be done in the area of strengthening our security agencies and, of course, the anti-graft agencies by extension to be able to make sure that, funds coming from financial crime are being curbed? And, of course, stemming the tides against terrorism goes beyond merely just talking about arrest. They should be given a very stringent sanction, if need be, jail term.
Yes. Nigeria, as a country, is a member of so many international bodies. Nigeria, in the community of nations, are members of so many treaties. Okay? To me, that's the way to go. Because if I'm in partnership with you and anything goes wrong in my country and such is traced to your country, I should be able to be assisted by you. That's simply what it is. Recently, we heard that Nigeria is now a partner, not a member country of BRICS. Okay?
Yeah.
A partner, not a member country of BRICS. I think soon they will transit into becoming a member of BRICS. And if that happens, that means there's a collaboration. That means there's a ties. That means there are going to be friendly approach to so many things they could do. And then the president, to me, is doing the best he could do as allowed by the Constitution to actually travel to meet his counterparts in other countries. So that whatever it is, the countries will not become a shield to those who are causing infractions in Nigeria. Because we have so many of them. For instance, recently, we had some individuals, I think 8 of them, that were denied visas for various reasons. We were not told of the reasons. But digging deep, the country in where those visas were denied from them could tell you that these are reasons. They have their reasons. Okay? Now, the issue now remains that we need tighter friendship. We need fortified relationship with other countries of the world so that we could shout and cry to them and say, whichever thing we found linking your country to, please expunge and let us know the people that are involved. And this is exactly what happens in UAE.
Okay, so
and in America.
All right.
So Americans are not keeping quiet. United Arab Emirates is not keeping quiet. UK is not keeping quiet, okay? Because in UK we've had so many individuals who were actually exposed to errors, and they were all brought back to the country, or their cases being treated there, after which they will be extradited to Nigeria. For instance, we have Diziani Madeke going through that process now. So I think we need a more collaborative approach with other countries of the world, you know. And the president, to me, I think is doing that. He travels almost all the time, meeting his counterparts in other countries to actually strengthen their ties.
Okay, so now let's look at prospect for Nigeria if we are to be taken seriously as a nation. Yes, we have been able to make some level of improvement and achievement when it comes to our partnership with other nations in a communion called BRICS. But then, what other measures do you think we need to put in place? Because we have seen in recent times where terrorists have been negotiated with, and no nation in the world who wants to be taken seriously negotiates with terrorists.
Yes.
Now, what do you think needs to be done, to be able to strengthen the integrity that Nigeria has as a nation?
I'm not in the government, and I don't speak for them, but the issue remains that every situation is local. Every infractions, every insecurity is local, and it must be approached same. Okay. If a government comes up and says, okay, what we could do, there are lesser crimes, there are heavier crimes, okay? And when all of them are brought up to the public knowledge, it is all about insecurity, whether lesser, whether bigger. But we tie all of them in a rope and say all of them are insecurity. Some need light remedial. Some need heavy sanctions. Some need complete extermination. Okay? These are different approaches to insecurity. It is all about getting towards lessening it, because you can't totally exterminate insecurity in a country. Places like Netherlands don't even have a prison house. They don't. Security in Netherlands is so low that you hardly find infractions or situations not closer to what we're having, okay? But totally you can't eradicate it. But there are ways you can checkmate it. You understand? Then, in collaborating with other countries of the world, what do? You form ties, you form friendships. You go about begging them, or you go about talking them into believing you. Fortunately, we have a president in the country who is now the chairman of the economic ECOWAS. Okay? And what that means to me is that he has a major role he plays there. He will be heard more. He has more jobs to do. So, in doing all this, it is a huge task on him. It is a huge task on how he wants to go about curbing this insecurity that has actually brought us to our knees. And how does this blossom? Not paying attention to it earlier on. We are discussing about something that gained international recognition. What about the ones that are still very much with us? IPOB is there in the southeast. In the south we still have Niger Delta agitation is still there. Northeast, we still have sisters of this Boko Haram trying to rear their ugly heads everywhere. And if you allow these things without paying attention earlier to them, it will blossom to a problem. It will certainly will have feathers.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So the earlier you approach this, the better. You don't give security situations a minute to thrive. Otherwise, that 1 minute will be expanded, and before you know it, you can't curb it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zikibe, political analyst, for giving us your perspective to this issue. We really